Hi guys, so I'm back with another product. This time around it's something that I bought together with the Benro S2 tripod. And so if you've not seen that one, I highly recommend getting it. I recommend getting the tripod itself because it's so cheap and good at the same time. It's probably the most value for money tripod that you can get. While that is great, you sometimes require other kinds of stability and other purposes. For example, I can't possibly bring a tripod into a tight location whereby I need to be shooting on the go. So it is with that reason I decided to get myself a monopod. That's it. While the top of the line Manfrotto monopods are great for their function, it costs a little bit too high for my liking. So as usual, I decided to go online to check out Taobao to see if there's any China versions of the Manfrotto tripod monopod. And true to the matter, I was able to find a really decent monopod clone, and in fact it's already been selling by photo and video shops. So but this one definitely, since it's direct from Taobao, it's much cheaper that way. So it is this little baby. It's called the Jieyang monopod. It looks and feels exactly like the Manfrotto monopod itself. Just gonna do a quick run through of the different parts of it, and then we'll move on to the actual review itself. So this monopod, unlike many others, come with a 3-leg spreader whereby you can actually pop it open. It'll lock into place after that click, and what you're able to do is actually place it on the ground, and this will actually give you more surface area to grab onto the floor with. So this means that I can put it there and expect a much more stable shot and don't have to worry about maybe the sticks shifting away from the ground or whatsoever it is. Moving a little bit further up, you get a little screw over here which you can actually loosen or tighten, whichever you want. And by tightening it all the way to the end, it actually locks the foot in place, which means that the ball doesn't rotate anymore. So if you know that you're going to be setting up the monopod at a certain location for an extended duration, this helps in the sense that you don't have to worry about accidentally pushing it away or whatsoever it is. For me, I do not use it as often, simply because if I'm on a monopod, I'm expected to sort of move around a lot. Moving another level up, this is where it differs a little bit from the Manfrotto itself. The Manfrotto utilizes a little catch, a latch mechanism to sort of lock and unlock the post. On this, instead, is a screw system whereby you have to turn it counterclockwise. You have to turn it clockwise for the thing to let go, and then once you're at a certain height, the desirable height, you can tighten it and then it locks in place. It still works very well. It's friction based if I'm not wrong. Only difference is that while you require less effort to get it to lock and unlock, you sort of need extra distance traveled just to get it to the desirable smoothness, whereas on the other hand with the monopod, it's just pull and then it's out, and then put it back in, and then you're good to go. I'm just gonna keep this open for this duration. Right up to the top, you get a little fluid head, and this is one of the best fluid heads that I have so far acquired. Reason being, is probably one of the most well built, very sturdy indeed. But not just that, this is one of the few that I've actually seen which comes with 2 knobs. So if you're left-hander or right-hander, it doesn't matter. You want to hold it on the left or right, it still works. For me, I will probably tighten both if I'm actually bringing it out to travel and don't want it to be shifting around or whatsoever. In other cases, usually what happens is I'll keep one side loose and then purely operate on the other side instead. So that makes it a lot easier and faster to operate anyways. The handle is great. While you can take it off and put it onto the other side if you're let's say left-handed or whatsoever, based on your preference. The key thing about this is that it actually has a little middle disc which absorbs most of the punishment from mishandling and whatsoever. In case of lower end fluid heads, usually what happens is that there is no in-between plate. So after a certain people have this bad habit of sort of grinding the gears, the teeth, because they are in a hurry or whatsoever, and that actually damages the grip itself. So in the long run, once you've damaged it enough, it actually loses grip, so it has a tendency of actually slipping off, and that is something you don't want to encounter on a very important shot or maybe a one-take shot. The handle itself has an extending post, which is kind of interesting because I don't really see the need for it except for when I'm doing maybe a video selfie, I guess, but it certainly extends really long, if you know what I mean. So most of the time I don't really use it. In fact, I find it a little bit of a hassle, so I try to tighten it as much as possible. Now here's the interesting part. This is probably something that I don't like about the monopod as a whole, and I wouldn't fault them for it because I probably wouldn't want to use it anyways. It's the base plate that comes with the fluid head. Again, while it works great, I mean it's stable and everything, I suppose it's a manufacturing defect or whatsoever, but the screw that comes with it sort of grinds against the insides of the base plate itself. So sometimes, especially if you're trying to make micro adjustments, and it happens to get stuck, it gets very frustrating because you just want to get it done in like 5 seconds, and because of that little issue, it turns out to be like 30 seconds or whatsoever. Time is money, right? But what I do like about this is that the screw itself comes with a little fold out handle that you can tighten without the need for screwdrivers or coins or keys or whatever you use to tighten your base plate with. So that's a plus point. Another thing I like about this is the fact that this goes in from either way and it is reversible. So that means that I don't really have to worry about getting it in the right place or whatsoever. Normally when you see other fluid heads, there's always one way in and one way out. So that is something that I didn't really exactly get, but I mean, I suppose in the higher end models there is a purpose to it. But in this case, I mean, if you're dealing with DSLRs and all that, there is no real front or back. So this makes things a lot more easier. Again, when I say that the fluid head is really well built, I suppose one more thing would be the fact that this has such a high level of resistance that if you're putting in a really heavy camera and lens combo, it actually helps to stabilize even more. One thing about it, I mean, it's not just about keeping things stable when you accidentally forget to lock it or whatsoever. The extra resistance actually makes it much easier to make a smooth tilt or pan. So that's major plus points for me. Now using this monopod has been really simple. I really like the added stability, I mean the added contact point with the ground that this provides. The fact that it's a monopod allows me to bring it everywhere. The weight isn't really much of an issue. It feels just like holding on to any other stick. So if you're traveling, usually what I do is I'll just keep it extended and use it as a walking stick. I know it's not good practice, but it does help. So shooting with this has been pretty enjoyable. I really like the added stability, the stabilization effect you get when you're holding onto it and putting the foot onto the ground. The extra contact point puts a lot of eases a lot of hand movement. So in essence, it becomes really comfortable to shoot with, and while it doesn't provide the absolute stability of a tripod, this in the other way, this instead gives you a sort of a handheld look, but at the same time provides negates unnecessary handshakes and all that stuff. I have pretty shaky hands, and to make matters worse, I'm shooting with some young primes, so that does not come with any form of image stabilization, so it can be a bit of a trouble. But based on my tests at home in the kitchen and with the kid that my mom is looking after. It makes it, I think you can see for yourself that it's really stable and any movement can be quite easily forgiven. So that is one thing that I really like. Even with like macro shots with the 100mm, it's still rather stable, and I really enjoy shooting with it. To the point that I nowadays try not to shoot handheld because it's heavy and my hands shake. I don't have the most stable hands in the world, so the monopod helps a lot. Another thing that I really like about using monopods, and this is something I learned from the internet, and that will be to actually use the monopod as a stabilization device for when you do like hyperlapses. I mean, the definition of hyperlapses would be sort of like a moving time lapse, whereby you travel a long distance along the way as you are shooting your time lapse. So to do this, using the monopod makes it a lot easier because I can quite comfortably gauge the distance that I need to travel between each shot to make it move smoother. But at the same time, the nature of the monopod itself allows me to level the shots very easily with the help of the in-camera gyro. So that makes it a lot easier to make sure that your shots stay horizon friendly. So even when you're moving between shots, it doesn't disorientate your audiences. I actually took it out onto the streets during National Day itself, whereby they had like this 5 sets of star statues. So I decided to try a little bit of hyperlapse blending between all the shots. And while the ground wasn't fully even, I was able to get really nice shots. I mean, I could have further stabilized the thing in After Effects or whatsoever, but I decided to keep it raw so that you can decide for yourself. Unfortunately, 2 of the stars were sort of hidden away from the public because of establishments and all the stuff. So it's really unfortunate that I could not finish all the 5 stars. I might continue another time, but I'll decide again that time. So in conclusion, I would say for about 150 to 200 Sing dollars, this is definitely a steal, considering the fact that a Manfrotto Monopod could knock you back like 400 plus or whatsoever. I can't remember the full price, but it's definitely less than half the price of the actual Manfrotto, and it does its job really well. Provides a lot of surprises, and it is something that I would suppose is necessary in every videographer or even a photographer's arsenal, especially if you do a lot of events whereby you need to be mobile and at the same time stable. I'm not sure if I'm making sense. Mobile in the sense that you need to be bringing your camera everywhere, you need to be physically present in everywhere. But at the same time, when you start shooting, you need to settle down and make sure that the shot is not moving because you're panting away from all the running around.